And one of the coolest things, my book came out in 2016. And one of the coolest things about my book is I heard from a lot of Americans from all walks of life, but especially from Black Americans who would come up to me and say, our story is your story.
Yeah, hi, Alex. I'll take 500 for things that didn't happen. Listen, I'm not saying it's impossible that happened. I'm saying it's very, very, very unlikely to have happened in my eyes. So JD Vance is just over the moon at his being selected to be running mate, which, big deal. Kudos to him, I guess. But boy, man, he is not great at campaigning. He's not very charismatic. And I think that's why Trump chose him. He's more charismatic than Pence, I'll give him that. But Trump tends to choose wet blankets as running mates. This entire campaign speech is just full of trying to be funny jokes and buzzwords that make people cheer when they hear them.
And one of the coolest things, my book came out in 2016. And one of the coolest things about my book is I heard from a lot of Americans from all walks of life, but especially from Black Americans who would come up to me and say, our story is your story. Whether it's the drug epidemic or whether it's this epidemic of crime and violence that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris unleashed in our country, we have got a lot of grandparents, white, Black, and every skin color, that are raising kids that they didn't expect to raise. And they're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and they do it because they love their communities. My message to them is simple. I will fight for you, because if it wasn't for a grandma like that, I would not be standing here today getting to run as your next vice president of the United States.
White, Black, all the other races that I can't be bothered to think of right now. Your book came out in 2016. You were writing about President Biden and Kamala Harris fumbling a drug and crime crisis in the United States in 2016. Not to mention, I know I feel like a broken record, and I've said this a million times in so many videos. The crime rates are down. They're down. The numbers are down. But that's not the only card he's trying to pull out of his sleeve. He also likes to take a hit at higher education, despite having gone himself and profited majorly off of higher education.
Now, I got a great education at Middletown High School. I graduated in 2003. I joke that I got a PhD, a public high school diploma, and I'm very proud of it. And there are great school teachers in public and private schools all across our country, but for some reason, the federal Department of Education is trying to lean into indoctrination at our schools instead of teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic in our schools. Let's get back to common sense.
He also got a great education from Yale Law School, from which he received a very generous scholarship. But I don't see anyone shitting on JD Vance because he got a handout. So what he's saying, paired with how much he's shitting on higher education, it really makes it seem like he's a big fan of our kids should go to high school and that's all they really need to prepare them for life. The reason JD Vance is where he is today is because he benefited from social programs that are designed to help people who grew up the way he grew up, which he now wants to take away from other people who are growing up the way he grew up. I gotta be honest though, it was pretty funny to me that not a lot of people found his PhD joke very funny at all. Not everyone can be a comedian, man. Just stick to what you know. Unfortunately, based on the crowd present, what does get a lot of cheers and applause and laughter are the buzzwords that you hear so often in Republican rhetoric, particularly the racist ones.
Now, I don't know if you were alive the past 5 years, but do you remember maybe why we shouldn't trust the Chinese attitude towards public health? What? I gotta be honest with you, I don't trust a damn plastic toy coming from China. I sure as hell don't trust the drugs that we put in the bodies of our children. Let's make our own stuff, my friends.
When in doubt, because your jokes are bombing, just pick on China. This crowd loves that. They love the anti-China stuff. By the way, the reason that we outsource so much of our product making to China is because it's unbelievably cheaper. And corporate greed speaks volumes. They don't want to make it in America because they have to pay more money to make it in America. It's the same businesses that Republican candidates back time and time again because they're lobbied, because they save all that money, because they export to China. But see, we've heard what J.D. Vance is against. It's time to hear what J.D. Vance is for. What is he going to do for the American people?
Number one, we're going to fight for every single worker in this country. If you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to put a good dinner on the table and send your kids to whatever vacation and whatever school you want to. Work hard and play by the rules, you get a good life. It's that simple. We're going to fight for every single parent to send their kids to a school where they get a good education and not an indoctrination.
Okay, so how about some funding for the educational wing of the government so that we can better fund our schools, pay our teachers, buy supplies? No? Oh, okay, well, I guess we're just going to take from schools then and call that good. Also, the audacity to claim that you're going to fight for a world where if you play by the rules, you make a good paycheck, you're able to feed your family, you have a good life, et cetera, when you have not played by the rules and neither has President Donald Trump. You want to know where J.D. Vance got the money to start his original campaign? He started a nonprofit in Ohio to address the opioid crisis and then used all of the proceeds to fund his campaign. And while vocally, historically, he may be in favor of unions, policy-wise, and his behavior shows that he's not. He's opposed legislation that would help protect workers who unionize. He has co-sponsored legislation that would undermine workers who unionize. He's also rejected nominees to labor boards who are known to be pro-union and pro-worker. But of this entire campaign speech, my very, very favorite moment is what I think is his funniest joke that didn't really land.
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good. I love you guys. But
I love the 10 people who pity laughed at such an odd joke that did not hit. It did not land. He thought that joke was going to eat, and it didn't. Anyway, congrats, J.D. Vance, on being the next vice presidential candidate to possibly be lynched by your own constituents when Trump inevitably turns on you. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out some of my content that isn't news related, you can check out my personal YouTube channel at Bad Gamer Wyatt. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.